Hello, and welcome back to Foos Entertainment. This time for my review of Solo, a Star Wars story. Alright, so what is there to say about Solo, a Star Wars story? Well, first let's talk about why am I watching it before watching episode 4, A New Hope. Well, because it takes place approximately 5 years before. At least the main part of the story. The concluding part of the story, actually, if you're told, the concluding part of the story takes place 5 years before A New Hope, but the beginning of the movie takes place about 11 years before the events of A New Hope. And so it makes a lot more sense to actually watch Solo, a Star Wars story, after Revenge of the Sith. Now, what's interesting about this movie is it actually plays homage to canon events of Star Wars quite well. I'm going to move this around. This is still not that much light. There's the light. There's the light and I can see me. Yeah, believe it or not, people, I can actually see how you see me. Based off of looking at myself while I'm recording. There we go. Now we can see me. But basically put, it takes place quite a while before A New Hope. It shows where the character of Han Solo comes from. Now, when this movie came out, especially when it was first being advertised, I was like, who wants to see this movie? I really don't understand why people want to see the backstory of Han Solo. Makes no sense. But the trailer, when the trailer came out, the main one, not the teaser trailer that we saw with Super Bowl, but the actual official theatrical trailer to the movie. When that came out, I actually was, oh, this could be good. And this film did not disappoint. This is one of my favorite films within the franchise. For sure. Definitely had nothing but good things to say about this particular movie. It does have its ups and downs in terms of quality, but in terms of the movie itself, this is definitely a top-notch film. And I don't have any problems with it. The action was good. I thought that having Paul Bettany as a villain was kind of cool because he hasn't played a villain in quite a while. He's either been too busy playing Vision in the DC universe, and of course before that he was known for playing the lead in the movie Priest and playing the lead of Michael the Archangel in Legion, but he hasn't really done any villains for a while. Of course he was Jarvis in the Iron Man movies, in the first Avengers, as well as, you know, most of the Avengers, Age of Ultron, and played bit roles in movies like The Tourist and stuff like that. Yeah, I found it very, very cool. But where the canon comes in, which is very interesting, is that this film discloses the fact that Darth Maul did not die with his lightsaber duel of the fates with Obi-Wan Kenobi in The Phantom Menace. He actually survived his ordeal. It's only shown for there for a second, and it threw me off for a while. I thought that Solo took place before Phantom Menace because of that. It does not. It does plays into the canon universe of Star Wars, and that's why he's in the movie. Why don't they ever, like, you know, make more things like that to where it makes more sense, rather than just thrown at you, and then people that haven't read the comic books or novels, we don't know what they're looking at. Like, Frank, for example, I haven't read any of the comic books or the novels, so I didn't know what I was looking at. I had to think about it. And then I remember, oh, there's this thing called canon universe of Star Wars. Okay, now it makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, just overall, an action-packed, really well-crafted movie. Now let's go into the premise of the film. It opens up, I say, obviously, somewhere to about 25, possibly more years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. But I would say that based off of how old Luke Skywalker and Leia were in A New Hope, I say it takes place, starts out, it opens up to where the film takes place exactly, let's see, 22 years. 22 years before the events of Star Wars A New Hope. We find out that Han Solo is actually, in a lot of ways, in this intergalactic galaxy, he is a ghetto guy that lives in the projects of poverty on outcasted planets or some shit like that. I forget the name of his outcasted planet, but he lives on an outcasted planet where people are living off of scraps, and the only way to make it is to steal things and be sort of a criminal and a rebel and a bandit, which is why he's the way he is. So he actually started out as a Scandal, like Leia called him in The Empire Strikes Back. He has this plan to get out of this situation and to become a pilot and to live a free life to where he's not being, dictated by a criminal mastermind, which is what he was. He gets out, but his girlfriend does not at the time. In order to avoid being caught by the criminal organizations that pretty much will hire him to steal stuff, he enlists into the military and works alongside the Empire's stormtroopers in a war that he doesn't believe in. While in this war, he comes across these other bandits who steal things from the Empire and stuff like that and sell to criminals, and he rides along, hoping that he'll actually get a very successful future. So he does that. And that's how he becomes a Han Solo we know. When the deal goes bad, the other thieves that he's with other thieves that he was hanging out with, and basically they answer to the person that hired him, and they're given another chance to survive without being killed for not delivering. And that's basically what happens there. And then he finds out that the individual that hired his colleagues to steal stuff actually is in tune with his girlfriend that he left behind that he always wanted to go back and get. He goes on this impossible scenario of a mission, and that's where he meets up with Lando Calrissian, and of course Lando wins the game because it's a card game, and Lando wins the first time around because he cheated, and of course Solo eventually found out later, and we'll get that to the end of the story. But basically Lando rode along and he flew a ship. What's very funny is Lando actually kind of has a girlfriend character in this, but this is what's really, really funny, and this was very colorful, and I was laughing my ass off at this. His sort of like spouse, wife, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it, is a freaking droid. It's a robot with a very, very perky attitude, like you would have with, very perky, perky attitude wife or something. And very cool how that character works. And of course, that's they have to get their stuff. They have to get the unstable merchandise they're trying to get, which is actually unweaponized energy of sorts. I forget what the name of it is. Sorry, I think it's coaxium cables. Yeah, coaxium cables, and basically unrefined, which means they have a limited amount of time to get it from point A to point B. And that's where the very, very famous thing that's brought up about the Millennium Falcon comes into play. After the demise of the robot girlfriend of Lando, Solo actually flies the Millennium Falcon and beats the record of going through the famous run that he talks about in the movies. Castle Run, yeah. He does a Castle Run in record time and beats everybody's record, of course, obviously. Castle Run is a bunch of chemical and very bad fumes in space that would tear you apart and stuff like that. It's an anomaly in space, and he flies through it and does a light speed through it and all that stuff. It's kind of cool. Then by the end of the movie, of course, find out the girlfriend's evil, working with Darth Maul, kills the bad guy, which is played by Paul Bettany. His friends double cross him. He kills his friends. Him and Chewie are left, the way we know him, and he wins the Millennium Falcon off of Lando in a rematch of the card game. And that's pretty much it. Now, onto the audio and video quality. Video-wise, the video is very good in this movie. But what's very interesting is the color template. I guess they wanted this movie... They intentionally made this movie very grainy. Basically, very grainy looking intentionally, and it has color, but it has an absence of color. It kind of reminds me of something that we see in Man of Steel or 300 or Watchmen. So it has that type of look. I think it's supposed to just look like that, but very cool the way it looks. Audio. This is where it suffers because it seems to me that Walt Disney does not care about a Lucasfilm, and they don't care about Marvel Studios, because in the past 3 years, off and on, in the past 3 or 4 years, they have made 7.1 DTS HD master audio tracks. They're not all that exciting. They're very lame, and that's the case with this movie. So yes, the 7.1 surround is there, but it's not as dramatic as you would want it to be. It's just sort of a letdown. But overall, it's not that bad of a movie. So I definitely do like Solo, A Star Wars Story, from 2018. So it actually is a much newer movie. It's the newest movie in the franchise. But it takes place, like I said, like 22 some years before the events of A New Hope. By the end of the movie, it leaves off about 5 years before A New Hope. So that's the reason why. Kind of have to do it like that. And I'll tell you why I say that. Because if you pay attention to A New Hope, he had been working for Jabba the Hutt, stealing things for Jabba the Hutt, for a few years before he meets Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan Kenobi. And so you have to put that into play. So yeah, this does end up at the end of the movie is still 5 years before A New Hope. Well, that's pretty much my views on 2018 Solo, A Star Wars Story. Did you like the movie? Not like the movie? As always, subscribe. Check back to me from time to time. And I'll see you guys next time for my review of Rogue One, A Star Wars Story 3D. Yes, you heard me, 3D. And I'll tell you exactly how I got it. All on my next review, when I review that movie, which will be in just a little while. Until then.